All right, welcome back everyone. Dr. Ben, not a real doctor here. And I want to talk today about why you and so many other people suffer from back pain. But I gotta grab something real quick. This is the problem. Not the chair, this position that people spend hours and hours and hours and hours every single day in. Actually, this is pretty good posture compared to what a lot of people do. Usually it looks more like this. And this further compounds the issue. But let's talk about it a little bit. Let's unpack it and I'll explain to you how this leads to you having major back problems. Now, the reason all this sitting is such a problem is because the human body is incredibly adaptable and it wants to make life as easy as possible. So all that sitting shortens your hip flexors and you start to take on the shape of a chair. What ends up happening is you end up basically standing like this. That's not right. Only old people stand like that, right? Not true. This is a little bit exaggerated, but as these muscles on the front of your hips shorten, you lose the ability to extend your hips and keep your pelvis under you in a neutral position and stand up properly straight. As these muscles shorten, you don't, until you get older and you no longer have the musculature to handle this position, the way people compensate, one of the major ways that people compensate for this position, is they use their mid-back to lift their chest so that they can regain a more balanced position. But the problem is you can see how tilted my pelvis is here. Over time you lose the ability to keep your pelvis in a neutral position, which makes it harder to use your glutes. As your hips tighten, your toes actually start to turn out too, because all of these muscles are so tight from this position, from sitting, it screws up your hips. And then it becomes even harder to use your hips. So you end up doing this kind of like shuffly walk where you just pick your feet up. Well, here, pick your feet up and drop them. And that makes us more quad dominant, which makes everything worse. It further tightens up everything on the front of the hips. The other problem with this position is that it causes a shear force on your spine. The muscles across here, across the front of your hips are tight. The muscles across here are tight. So you've got these muscles pulling your spine forward and these muscles pulling your spine backwards. So you get this compressive force on your lumbar spine and also this shear force right about the mid-back, right where the ribs start to end and the low back starts to begin. And then because these upper muscles are always contracted, then all the muscles in your thoracic spine get tight too. You lose full shoulder mobility. Your neck is trying to compensate, picking your head up all the time, so your neck tightens down. The muscles in the front of your neck shorten, and it creates this whole chain of events that just squishes your spine and slowly pulls you into this crazy exaggerated position that starts to look like this. And now you see the old people with the walker. So how do you fix this? Step one, biggest step, is open up your hips on the front. If you can get your hips to open, just walking can go a long way to correct a lot of these positions. The whole process of correcting this is beyond the scope of this video, but I'm going to share one little stretch you can do to start getting things moving. All right, so here's the stretch. It's pretty simple. You're going to go into basically like a split squat position. And the trick here is that you have to keep your pelvis in a neutral position. If you allow your pelvis to dump forward, you're still not stretching these muscles in the hip flexor. So the easiest way to figure that out is squeeze this butt cheek here, and it's going to bring your hips underneath you. You'll feel a pull down the front. It could be in here on your midline. It could be a little more on the outside, or you could feel it on the front of your legs. I'm going to grab something to put under my knee for the second part of this. So this is if you have enough mobility in your quads to start this position. If you've been quad dominant for a long time, it's likely that your quads are going to be too tight to really get into this position. So what you want to do is you want to start by same exact position, but then what you're going to do is bring your foot up. Now, you don't have to bring your foot up as high as I have. I've worked on this quite a bit to release everything, so I have a fair bit of mobility through the quads. If this is too much, you can grab any kind of item and just put your foot on it. And you can add items as needed until you can reach your foot from a good position. You can add a blanket, you can add a cushion, and slowly get your foot higher and higher until you're at the point where you can hold your foot yourself. Do what you need to with this front leg to maintain your balance, because the important thing is stretching out on this side of the body. And you're just going to hold this 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. The longer the better. And a nice, easy, gentle stretch here. You don't want to be going 10 out of 10. This is something that's a very light stretch that you can hold for a long time. And over time, done every day and sitting less, moving more, you will gradually open up this hip and start correcting your posture. That's a very, very quick intro to correcting that position. But I just want you guys to understand that that's how sitting in the same position over and over again creates these problems. There are other ways to work on this. You can sit on the floor. Sitting on the floor instead of in a chair offers one position basically. You're stuck in that 90-90 position. Sitting on the floor offers you tons of possibilities for rearranging your body in a way that helps you get movement while sitting. You can stretch out while watching TV simply by sitting on the floor. So explore some of those postures that I just showed and start to open up your hips so that your back and your hips can work properly. And you would be amazed how quickly you can start mitigating that back pain and getting your body back into a functional position. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, smash that thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing. And if you know someone who could benefit from this, please share the video with them. Until next time, keep your life in motion.